Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Rocked On Detroit Lions. My name is Will. I'm joined by Andy B. Sorry, we're a little
Everyone.
late breaking edition tonight. Andy, say hi to everybody for us.
What's up, everyone? How's it going? Welcome aboard.
So, again, I apologize. We're getting on a little bit late tonight. We're trying to throw this thing together. Been involved in creating the tailgate truck for Turned Up Tailgate. So, I had a little run to the hardware store that made us late. So, I apologize. So tonight's truly off the cuff. We're really not doing a whole lot of prep for this tonight. We're kind of going back to the old school version of our show. But we are going to wrap up the off season tonight and maybe get in a little bit about what's gone on today, first day of training camp for the Detroit Lions, and then just kind of chit chat about whatever. So Andy, what's the first thing on your mind tonight about the off season, and what do you view as the most important thing that really transpired since February through today? The start of the new season has really begun.
Well, the one thing, Will, I want to bury this one right off the bat because this one it keeps creeping up. We need to put an end to the whole thing with Jameson Williams, the suspension. I know that whole thing, I'm not going to say it got blown out of proportion, but I think it got a lot more attention than it really needed. The guy made a mistake. It's over and done with. He's going to take his punishment, and we're going to move on from there. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, of course, it's one of the biggest, most blazing thing that has happened in the offseason was Jameson Williams not going to be with us for, again, a long period of time.
Yeah.
But where the Lions organization is different is they pivoted, right? They put their foot in the dirt and they pivoted and they did what they needed to do to strengthen a position, which was now a weakness.
Right.
So that'll kind of put us right into one of the biggest things that happened was the draft. And we won't go totally nuts into the draft right yet, but because of the Jameson Williams situation, I said that the Lions would go after an offensive playmaker, an offensive weapon. And I put the prediction out that they were going to go after a running back, namely Bijan. And if Bijan was surprised, he was taken, that they would be Jameer. I feel like they took Jameer to fit that role. We're finding out more and more and more that Jameer is, for all intents and purposes, a dual threat wide receiver running back. And the guy can catch the ball in the slot. He can dip out wide. He can come out of the backfield. He's a gadget guy. So do you feel the Lions did a good job making up for the deficiency with Jameson Williams being gone for the first 6 weeks?
I absolutely do, because Jahmyr Gibbs, I know you and I have talked about this a few times, Will, and I know we kind of, not really so much of a differing opinion. I think I see it one way, you see it another, but I look at Jahmyr Gibbs as like another version of Deebo Samuel. He doesn't have the size of Deebo, obviously, but he can still be a wide receiver and he can be a running back. Getting David Montgomery, I think definitely was a big pickup, I thought. I know they say you shouldn't pay running backs a lot of money. They did pay him a pretty sizable amount, but I think Montgomery, after losing Swift and losing Jamal Williams, I think bringing in David Montgomery and then getting Jahmyr Gibbs that definitely takes care of the backfield for us. I think our tailbacks are looking really, really, really good. So I have no concern there at all in that sense. And if you do want to go back, I'm not going to touch on the draft, obviously too much either. But I think I thought we hit real good in the draft this year. I like the Campbell pick. I like the Laporta pick. Brian Branch, I think, is going to be really good. I'm good with the picks that we had. I was shocked still a little bit even now that we took Jahmyr Gibbs as high as we did. But I have no issue with it. And the other one, I'll be anxious to see what Hooker does, when his time comes up to either step in for Goff, who, God forbid, Goff goes down. But I think Hooker is a good insurance policy for that, and I hope good for the kid. I am extremely fairly happy with what our team did this offseason. I don't see any deficiencies. I don't see any real big question marks at all. I actually feel real good about it. I think we talked pre-show a little bit, Will. I think we could have the number one offense in the league. I know you said we could be top 5. I agree with you 100%. But that's how good I feel about our offense as a whole. I think the offseason we made a ton of wonderfully good moves.
Yeah, I've always been in agreement with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and what they're putting together. And I think they've further solidified what their mark is on this organization, even as late as this last week.
Right.
So, trending back to where this conversation started, the whole the whole Williams thing got really blown out of proportion with what he did. Yeah, he did make
Yeah.
his mistake, and we're all moving on from it. It's time to get into the guts of the season. We're gonna have to deal with what we have to deal with, and that starts today. So the Lions went out and grabbed Jahmyr Gibbs. I felt like that filled deficiency hole number one, which has given us options, both as a wide receiver and a running back. But this week they went out and grabbed Denzel Mims. And I know he's not super exciting when it comes to what he's been able to produce, but he's been with a Jets organization that hasn't been able to produce, right? They haven't been able
Right.
to put a solid quarterback on the field. Mims has gone through 3 offensive coordinators and 2 head coaches in as little as 3 seasons, now entering his 4th season. So the guy needs a fresh start. And if you think about DeAndre Swift for a minute, he's getting his fresh start. Will he do anything with it? I don't think so. Jamal Williams, he's getting a fresh start even though he didn't need one. Will he do something with it? Probably, but he doesn't have the offensive line that he's leaving or left. But for Mims, I see this as a different scenario, if you will, that he's getting a fresh start with an offense that has pieces. He doesn't need to come in to be the number 1 guy. He doesn't even have to be the number 2 or the number 3. Mims just needs to be a role player, and that's what he might be. I put out the stat, I think it was yesterday or this morning, I can't remember now. Speed. We're talking speed now with this Lions offense, and it's something that we haven't seen. They were the shortest wide receiver group in the last 5-6 years, or at least since Calvin Johnson retired. The wide receiver core has been the shortest. But Calvin Johnson brought speed and height. We didn't have that. We haven't had it. The tight ends were the tallest of our group over the last many years. Now we've got a 6'3" Mims, a 6'3" Jones when he comes back off of NFI. Antoine Green, I believe, is 6'4". 7th round pick in 2023. Hopefully he makes the squad. He's my pre-camp, draft pick. I feel like he can do it. I think he's going to come out, and I think that the Lions are going to keep an extra wide receiver this year. So now we have height. We have plenty of options now in the red zone, but now you have speed. These guys got straight line speed. Who's going to cover 4 or 5 guys that can run sub 4.4?
No one.
No one.
Absolutely no one. And no one.
And now you've added Laporta to the mix, who's got great hands, and he's not that slow of a guy for a tight end. He's got decent speed as well. It may be mid 4.5s or whatever he was clocked at. That's still fast enough to take out some of the linebackers.
Absolutely.
So when I look at this offseason and I look at what the Lions are really trying to do, it's they attacked an entire position group with the running backs and wide receivers. Yeah, we didn't go out and draft a top wide receiver. We didn't bring in a high free agent, but we found a guy that could really fit this team, and he doesn't have to be a number 1. We already have our number 1s with what's supposed to be Jameson Williams. Amon-Ra is definitely our number 1 wide receiver on this team right now.
Beast.
You still have Josh Reynolds, who has many years of time on the field with Jared Goff. They understand each other well. Marvin Jones is a blender. The guy is going to just sit in well with anybody. He's also familiar with the Lions organization.
Right.
But Jared Goff is the type of quarterback that I feel like he gets up to speed with his wide receivers pretty quick, as long as they're a heady wide receiver and they understand the game. If you're a veteran, Goff is good with you all day. Rookie, different story.
Yeah.
So we addressed the wide receiver room. We had addressed the running backs situation, draft one, free agent on another, brought back Justin Jackson this week. So that room's looking solid. But then you go to the opposite side, secondary. To me, that's the biggest noise of this offseason. They completely gutted the secondary.
Yep.
And rebuilt it. Mosley's out to start camp, but Tracy Walker's back.
He's still in.
Kirby Joseph came off a hell of a season as a rookie. So what do you think about the secondary? How big of an impact do you think that's going to have this season?
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'll say it even though I don't have to say it. the improvement says it all. I mean, just look at the name, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You drafted Branch.
Top 10
Yeah.
in his position.
Yeah, I mean, he's C.J. Gardner-Johnson is one of the best I've seen. You bring in Branch out of Bama, who I think Branch is gonna. They already said, I already read what was like in the first day of training camp. Branch was already impressed with the way he read the plays, read the offense, read his the routes he was supposed to get in front of. I mean, he was already day one. Now, again, we talked, Will, I'm not going to judge everything off day one. You can't do it. You can look at it as promising, though. So bringing in Branch, Mosley, he's going to be there eventually. I remember I was a little bit bummed out that Okudah got traded, but at the same time, how much of an impact was he really that we're not going to miss him. I don't think we're going to miss him being gone at all. So that whole secondary being gutted, I mean, we're going to go from having one of the bottom defenses in this league to where I put the offense number one. I know you said top 5. I would say I give our defense top 10 in the league. Easy with the way that secondary alone was one of our biggest issues. I know we woke up later in the season last year, but I really think this defense is going to hit the ground running. I'm not worried about the interior, but that whole secondary for me is going to be a tough secondary to get past. That's how I feel about the job we did in that sense.
So top 10, I feel, is a little bit of a reach. Top 15, I think we could go there. But again, like you said, we've got to get through a couple of weeks of camp. Yes. We got to make sure everyone's healthy. So I would say this: pre-camp, preseason, pre-week 1, kind of an estimate here or prediction, if you will. Do we have what it takes on paper to be a top 15? I think we do. When I look at just the secondary, and you have a Cameron, Sutton, who's easily a top 30 cornerback in this league, if not a top 20.
Absolutely.
He's not being paid like a top 15 or a top 10, but he's probably one of the most consistent cornerbacks in the league, who's also very versatile. So you look at any team across the board, how many teams have a top 20, a top 10, a top 60, that was a rookie, probably finished in the top 40 with Kirby Joseph at the safety position. A CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's a top 10. Cameron Sutton, who in my opinion is a top 20 cornerback in this league, if not better. It's all about who you play with, right? Who's around you. You have Tracy Walker in his prime when he was playing well, was probably a top 20, in the safety position. There's no reason why collectively as a group, if this squad can gel and they can find some continuity quickly, there's no reason why that can't be one of the scariest secondaries in the league. That's where I think it elevates the defense. When you have a secondary that works together, that's able to shut down the passing lanes, right? What does that do to the front seven that, for all intents and purposes, was a little suspect? We really wanted to see some big changes on the interior defensive line, and we didn't.
No.
They grabbed Jack Campbell and addressed the middle, linebacking core, move Anzalone outside. We don't know what's going to happen with Rodrigo or Barnes now, but Barnes, from what we're reading, is really stepping up.
Yep.
So you take a secondary, they're able to take away the passing lanes, they're able to keep the quarterback with the ball. That undoubtedly helps your front seven. Even if they were bad last year, it elevates them a couple of notches. If I were to use a Madden rating, which I don't like the Madden ratings, but if I were to use a Madden rating to say, try to say what I'm saying here, it's if our front seven was a 75 last year, which they were terrible, they're probably an 85, 88 just with the secondary getting better.
Yes.
Well, then you add Aiden Hutchinson having a full off season, getting his act right, getting his body together, able to really dive into the tape for the first 9 weeks where he played terribly in the majority of the games. I don't care about stats. I care about production, and that doesn't include stats. I know that's an oxymoron, but you'll understand what I'm saying as we get going through the season. So Aiden Hutchinson's going to have a much better season. He should. And if everybody stays healthy, and now Levi is back to work, hopefully he stays healthy. There's no reason why we can't be a 90 Madden overall rating.
I agree.
Which in my opinion gets us to a top 15. If we are a top 5 offense and a top 15 defense, we're talking, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, those are Super Bowl type playing ability, right?
Right. Yep.
You usually have a top 5 offense, or at least a top 10, and a top 5 or a top 10 defense that is in the Super Bowl every single season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's rare that you don't. But if you have one or the other or both, that's scary, man. So where do we go from here, Andy? The off season is done today. We're starting training camp today.
It officially begins.
We start preseason on the 9th of August. And it's going to be here like that. So
3 weeks.
What else in the off season has really made the difference for you in this Lions organization and where we're headed?
Well, it just seems like to me the biggest thing for me has been so far, it's been the ability to fill in the gaps when there's been the troublesome spots. I mean, like for instance, now Jameson's gone for those first 6 games. Okay, I know there was a big question about what are we going to do to fill that void. I know Marvin Jones is going to be out for a little bit. He'll hopefully be back soon. But I think one of the big ways to address all that was picking up Denzel Mims. And we just touched on that. I think he's a good role player for what they're bringing him in for. I mean, he's got size, he's got speed, he's got a freakishly good wingspan. That's what I like. And I know that's just one example, but to me, that one example can hit home of how they're not just resting on their laurels right now. They see that there's a void, or they see there's something that has to be addressed. Brad Holmes and Campbell collectively, they've been going out there and it's just been boom, let's take care of it right now. We're not just going to sit around and maybe see how the first little bit of this goes before we address the issue, which to me is a problem a lot of teams always make, including our beloved Detroit Lions of years past, have a habit of just not addressing the issue. So the attention to detail and just up immediately filling in those voids that have to be filled in, that's been a big thing for me. And I just like how it seems like this first day of training camp already, from the things I've been reading. I was reading Tim 20, man, just the way the team is already gelling together and the way the offense, I mean, that's a testament that I think what Campbell has probably been also doing during the offseason, keeping this team ready for what's to come. That I'd say is that's one of the biggest things that stands out for me, Will, is just the team is just, they're not, for lack of better words, they're not messing around anymore. They're actually playing like a big football team. They're actually doing what they need to do. I don't know if you agree with me on this, what I'm saying completely.
No,
but
I do.
That's just that's what I think is a big, big noticeable thing with this team. It's something we've never seen before. That's why I feel like I have to emphasize that some people might say what I'm saying is a small thing, but I don't really think it is, because I mean, it seems like we're at a point right now. This offseason has made me believe that if something goes wrong, we're already within about a few minutes going to have something right in the back burner to address the problem to keep going forward. You don't see a lot of teams and GMs have that, especially the Lions. And I think that's the biggest impact for me in this offseason, is seeing the way we've addressed these voids and the way we're going to address them going forward. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but it's nice to know that if somebody gets hurt, we're going to be capable of filling those spots to get everything correct.
So if I understand what you just said, I think you said a few things there. One, the Detroit Lions are now playing no-nonsense football. Number two, and that's from the top down. That's from the top of the organization all the way bleeding through to the players, right?
Absolutely.
Number two, we now have depth. This is going to be one of the hardest training camps to cut from 90 all the way down to 51 or 53, whatever they keep out of camp.
53.
So we have major depth now, where we've got players that are going to be backups that last year might have been starters. Right. And on many other teams throughout the league probably could be starters, which also means the guys that we're cutting, they're probably going to get picked up. A good bunch of them will, at least, right? And then the third thing that I thought you were alluding to was, well, you kept mentioning the voids, which kind of goes back to depth. But I look at it from the Lions organization, the ownership and the management, right? the the overall value that they're implementing and putting into their players is, look, we're a team. We're going to bring in leaders. We're going to bring in coachable players. We're going to bring in guys that you should get along with already. And Campbell alluded to that in his press conference today, that there's going to be some guys that don't gel. There's going to be some guys that just don't get along with others.
Of course.
And if they can't, they may not crack the starting roster. They may not make the roster. They may have paid big money for this person, but if they don't gel with the team, if they're not part of the culture, they end up, putting on a show to get a contract, but they really don't put it together in the end. They're okay with moving on from them.
Right.
They want the right guys, the right, culture on the field and the right team on the field. So I think that's what I heard you say is, we're a damn team. We're a team for once. And we're a team that now, for me, my biggest thing, or one of my biggest things, is we're still sitting on $24 million in cap. I haven't checked it in a week, but they're still sitting on a hefty amount of cap money. When's the last time you have seen the Lions enter a season where they have money left over to where now come trade deadline, if we're actually making a push, which we should be, now we have the money to go out and say, yep, we need this guy. We need that guy, and we're going to go make a run deep into the playoffs. They can do that this year.
Yep. Yes, they can.
We were too worried before of paying off Stafford's big contract, Calvin Johnson's big contract, Nick Fairley's contract, Sue's contract. I mean, you name it, the list just kept growing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we're seeing Brad's masterclass where they're renegotiating, restructuring. And instead of cutting Aquara and Vitae, which is my second big thing, they renegotiated their contract, allowed them to stay with the Lions because they are such big components and pieces to the team and the culture factor.
Right.
But the money wasn't there for the Lions, right? The money was too much for the big risk that they were going to take on keeping those guys around. So the third thing for me is, the offseason, trading of Okudah. Right. They got rid of a guy that they knew that was going into his last season. They were never going to pick up his 5th-year option. He just wasn't performing.
No.
He was an injury risk. Same thing with Swift. He was an injury risk. He just wasn't performing. So they got, something back for guys that past seasons, old coaches, old GMs, they would have cut bait and they wouldn't have got anything in return.
No.
Okay. And quite honestly, that really continued with what happened this week with Mims. We're getting a free look. We're sending a conditional 6th round in 2025 for a conditional 7th round in Mims in return. Mm-hmm. But again, that conditional pick only happens if he makes the roster.
Right.
So it's a free look-see. And to me, it's the genius of Brad Holmes and this management team. And really, this one should be first, but it kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning. Sheila is done such an amazing job with everything that she's brought in, the people that she's surrounded herself with, the level of football intelligence that is now in that building. She's really done an amazing job. So I think that, just like what Dan Campbell always says, it starts from the top down.
Exactly.
She is one of the biggest reasons why this team is doing what it's doing. It's not going to be a football team unless your ownership is willing to invest and willing to go in and find the right people.
Right.
So with those things that I mentioned, what do you have to say?
Well, I'm just, we've all known that, the Ford family, they neglected this team since the day they bought it, back in the 60s. And, it never, I could tell you right now, and, you talk to like my mom, who's Detroit native, lifelong Lion fan. She'll tell you that when the Ford family bought this team, they didn't even care. One thing I can tell you that I love about Mrs. Hamp is that she is a member of the Ford family, but it's finally looks like we have a member of the family who actually cares about the team, wants to see it succeed. And yeah, she surrounded herself with, you said it best already. She surrounded herself with great people in the organization. This is just Will, we're just, you know what it is? We're in territory right now with this team that I know I've never seen in my life as a Lions fan. I know you've never seen it. I mean, I
No.
could, you could bring on every Lions fan that exists onto our show right now. And I'm pretty sure 100% of them would agree that they've never seen anything like this. I mean, look, good example. Look at the year that the Quintricia nightmare came to an end midway through the season. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I think everybody thought that they were just going to stay there, make everyone miserable again, and be the same old Lions. But as soon as she came in with the hatchet and got rid of them and all that, I was like, wow, I never saw that in my lifetime. Never saw anyone of that caliber in this organization make that type of move. And I hope to see it keep coming. Things I want to see. I'll tell you right now what I'd like to see this season. If we go a big, deep playoff run, you better lock Brad Holmes down for life, because I'll tell you what, he's one of the most genius GMs I've ever seen in the game. And he put that Rams teams together, for crying out loud. He's done something right, obviously. Those are the impacts that have on me right now with this whole thing, Will. Sometimes I'm at a loss for words because I'm seeing things with this team that I never thought I'd see before in my lifetime. Ever.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, and we were talking earlier, where I told you 22 years of having season tickets and having a Lions club that started out, with just a couple of tickets, and now we have 8. This is the first season I'm not at training camp on my birthday that is the season ticket holder, loyalty member, on the 29th, which is my birthday. This is the first time I'm not going to be there. And it's even crazier to me that I'm not going to be there on the 30th when we logged in to get the tickets for the next day. I mean, we reached our rep. He put us into a pool to get tickets, and we more than likely will probably end up with them. But the point that I'm trying to make is we've never had to log in to get tickets and hope that we could get them, right? They were just
right.
Rod Wood was speaking about this in the springtime, that they're thinking about getting a new training facility because there is so much pent up. I don't know if it's pent up. There's just so much hype. Let's use the word hype.
Yeah.
Over Lions, that everybody wants to be there. They knew that camp was going to be a problem, that Allen Park can really only hold about 15,000 people.
Right.
And they were able to sell that out within, minutes to an hour of opening up the tickets. So anyway, where am I going with this? In all these years, this is the first time I'm never going to be there on day one, or at least I'm not right now. I mean, I've got plenty of other dates, and we are trying to raffle off some tickets for free. It's just, share our pages, share our YouTube, like and subscribe, put it on your profile. Very simple way to win. The person that does the best is going to get some tickets. We'd love to bring some extra people around with us. We got some extra tickets for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Want to give them away. We want to make sure that everyone is going to have an opportunity to get there, or at least some people to get there. So in 22 years of being a season ticket holder, this is the first year that I can tell you it's different. It's really different. Now, every single season, you've got your diehards that always think every season's different. We're going to the playoffs. We're going to the Super Bowl. Man, we got a great team. And you really believed in all the garbage that was getting fed to you through the microphone by the person on the other side that was usually a head coach. And now it's like, I believe in what Dan Campbell says.
Right.
I finally trust in the head coach because he's no bullshit. He's not going to feed you a line of crap. He's a super humble man. And I believe that he might be the first NFL head coach that probably tells the truth more times than not. And I don't say that as 100%. There's got to be times in there where he's got to protect the integrity of what the team is doing. But I don't think that Dan's going to outright lie to you. I think that he's going to give you, the God's honest truth about what's really going on. And he's probably that same way with his players. And that's why we're seeing the change, the difference. It's Dan Campbell. It's Brad Holmes doing what he's doing to get the team set up. It's Rod Wood and the financial team working to make sure that Everything is there for them to have a future, right? And to maintain what they're building. And then it's Dan Campbell bringing in an incredible staff, Scotty Montgomery, Dre Bly. Just amazing personnel. Frank, you name it. There is some amazing Brunel, amazing personnel coaching that are former players. No other team is set up like that. Not to this degree.
Well, and I was going to say, not to interrupt you, Will, but that was something I was going to touch on real quick too, just to go along your point. I think that, we emphasize top down, but I think the fact that you've got a coaching staff that about 90% of it are former players who know the game. These guys can get down to the level of the players that are on the field. They've been there. They've been in the trenches. Just watch Hard Knocks. They'll tell you all. They've been through the training camps. They know how brutal and heartbreaking and rough it can be. And I think that's what also says volumes about what the organization is doing. That, we bring in a staff full of players or coaches that used to play the game because they get it. They get what these guys are going through. They get that there's going to be times they might have to get cut, might get hurt. They're going to have days where it's going to be rough. And it's like, you know what? Buckle up. I was there. I know what you're going through. That alone right there, I think, also has made the big difference too, is that you've got a staff together of, you got every man. You got working men that are basically coaching and trying to mentor working men. And it's amazing that kind of hands-on, what a difference that can make, because that's the stuff that'll make the players, they play for that coaching staff. Those guys, they play for Dan Campbell. They play hard for him because they believe in him. Maybe last year, the year before, you may have not seen it a lot because there was the growing pains, but they play hard for that guy, and they really do. And I'm proud to see that.
Yeah, they 100% run through a brick wall for Dan Campbell every single week.
Oh yeah.
And it's apparent on the field. It's apparent off the field when I'm watching, some of these guys speak to the media, how much they give praise back to their coaches and how much they give praise back to Dan for being the type of man and mentor that he really is.
Absolutely.
So to wrap this 2023 offseason up in a bow, and if I were really to kind of give it a send-off to this upcoming season, it's the Detroit Lions last year were the team that could, right? Or the team that will. And I really think that this year, and we've seen that on Hard Knocks, right, with Dan Campbell on one of the last episodes. This off season, in my opinion, was the off season that should. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is it should elevate this team. It should propel this team to the next level. It should bring in a few extra wins. It should give the guys a level of confidence that their management is doing the right things. It should solidify our future. And I really think that it should make us as fans extremely proud and happy for once as a Detroit Lion fan of what this organization has put on the field for us finally in 2023. Last season was great, right? The last half of last season was phenomenal.
It was amazing.
I just wanted to wake up and it was a new Sunday and a new game there towards the end,
Oh, yeah.
But this year is different. Like, we're expecting more. And that's what I'm going to transition to right off the bat is today was training camp day 1. And we're expecting more because of the hype.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan Campbell said it in the press conference this morning about 8:30 Eastern that the hype is real and it's too much. He doesn't believe in it. He tells his players, look, if you believe into the hype, if you believe in the hype, you're going to have a problem. Sorry about that. If you believe in the hype, you're going to have a problem, right? Don't believe in the hype. Put your nose down, get to work, grind it out every single day. You're not who the media says you are. Maybe you will be, but right now we're not. It's literally day 1.
Exactly.
And there's a lot to get through in a few weeks before they're taking on I believe they start with the Giants first.
They do.
In joint practice. So it's literally day 1. They've got a lot to get through. There's going to be a lot of bumps and bruises. Everyone's going to wake up sore as hell tomorrow. And it's the hype that can derail teams. And I don't want to see that happen. There's a lot of great players on this team. But here's the reason why I don't think it will happen. I don't think the hype's going to affect him because of Dan. And he's going to have his players ready. And he's going to make sure that they all understand that it's not who everyone else thinks you are, it's who you are on the field. So you got to go out there, you got to put the work in. I think he'll have him level and grounded. What do you think?
I agree 100% because I watched the clip of his press conference today, what you were talking about. And yeah, they asked him. I don't remember who it was that asked him the question, but one of the reporters asked a question about the hype train. And he basically slapped it down. He basically said, you know what, I'm not going to answer that question because it's going to lead you to another one and then another one about this whole thing with the hype. Dan Campbell's made it pretty clear. He doesn't care what superstar you are. He doesn't care if you're a rookie. He doesn't care where you're at and what caliber in the league. You're going to earn your way on this team, and you're not going to buy in the hype. You're going to, like you said, you can put your nose to the grindstone and get to work. He's made it very clear he's not going to let his players be distracted by the hype because you're right. All the hype, it can create that happened to us back in 2015, Will, with the team we had. I remember we had a lot of hype, and look what happened. So I think Campbell knows that, and I can't see him allowing his players to be completely bought into it. I mean, I know he wants them to be excited. He wants them to have fun. He wants them to have good, lofty goals. But at the same time, they have to squash that because they have to just focus. And you almost have to look at it like it's just another season. It doesn't matter what people are saying about us. It doesn't matter who we have, who you're going to play with. It doesn't matter what the schedule says. They have to look at this one game at a time, 1 week at a time, one practice session at a time. And everybody who's listening right now, day one of training camp, yeah, I read it. Looks like it went really well. I saw some clips, but it's day one. Well, we're not going to judge the whole season. We can't do that.
Well, that's the thing that came out in OTAs was that Jared Goff was struggling. And next thing you know, the Twitter feeds, the Rocked On Detroit Lions Facebook page, the Rocked On Detroit Lions or the Detroit Lions group on Facebook, man, did it light up with, oh, here we go. Goff is going to fall apart.
Yep.
And he's going to be the problem. Well, we need to draft this person, or we should have traded for that person, or we need Lamar Jackson. And look, it's OTAs. And the thing that I love again about the secondary is iron sharpens iron, right? We hear it all the time. So when you have a really good secondary, what do you think that's going to do to the offense and Goff? One, it's going to help these guys get ready for stiffer competition.
Yep.
It's going to make Goff have to get more intelligent, a little bit more quick. He's going to have to make a snappier decision. He's going to have to read the defense quicker. Whatever the case may be, it's going to make him better. It's also going to allow our wide receivers to have an opportunity to go up against stiffer competition. They're going to get in and out of their breaks a little bit quicker. They're going to, maybe put on a better juke move. They're not just going to lollygag through the motions anymore because you got competition on the field. They're coming at you. And if you're not going to go hard and go at them, you're going to look like a fool on the field. You're going to be on the bench.
Right.
So in my opinion, it's great that we have a great secondary as long as they can really gel quickly, right? Goff came out today firing on all cylinders, right? The whole offense did. They lit it up. God, yeah. They lit it up in day one. And quite honestly, they're probably going to get their butts kicked tomorrow. And I expect it because right now the DB coach is screaming in their ears like, what in the world did you just allow happen today?
Yep.
So both sides of the ball expect to win every single rep. That's just the way it is. It's a good, fun, healthy group. I think that there's going to be there might be a couple of fights in camp this year. I think that there's going to be some healthy scrums, I think. And it's only because it's good competition.
Well,
so
yeah, but you know what's crazy, Will? And we've talked about this. This is going to be funny. You know what's going to happen tomorrow? The offense is going to be, let's just say they do what they'll probably do, which is they'll be 180 degrees backwards difference of what they did today. You're going to hear it. Oh, here we go again. Goff's got to go. That offensive line. I mean, it's just going to be this is where I get fired up. Does anybody not learn from history? Training camp, I'm not going to say it's useless, but it's useless because you can't judge a whole season and performance of a team off of 1 or 2 days. So I'm just saying, Will, I guarantee you, we're going to
Sure
see
you
our.
can. Sure you can.
You can, but it doesn't mean it's intelligent. Because Will, you know what's going to happen tomorrow? We're going to get on our Twitter feed. We're going to get on our Detroit Lions group, Rocked On Detroit Lions Facebook, everything that you and I have. Tomorrow, if the offense literally falls on its face, I'm just going to sit back and watch every comment. Every comment, and to me, it's just going to be like, come on, guys. It was the second day, It's because I guarantee you, I saw comments today about how look at that offense, man. It was. I knew we had a great offense. Well, we all know they have a great offense. It's day one. There, I vented.
All right, so I think it's hilarious because there was a couple times where the Lions either won all of the preseason games or came real close, and everyone thought they were going to the Super Bowl. Everyone thought they were going to the playoffs, and then they go 0-16.
Yeah, I remember that year. We all do.
Yeah, so you can't judge a book by its cover in the preseason. You definitely can't judge it in training camp. Look, we're excited to be here. We're starting the season off finally today with some football action. There is not going to be another day until mid-February without football going on.
Right.
We've got a long, about 26-week season that's just now really getting started. So we're back, and we're back in a good way. So a couple updates. We'll do a little house cleaning. So Rocked On Detroit Lions and Off the Cuff, our little special podcast here that we do, is changing. So instead of doing Thursday nights, which is going to interfere with Thursday night football, we are changing to Friday evenings. We're thinking it's going to be around 5 p.m. Eastern, and that'll be our pregame or our pre-show to the Sunday games. And it'll also just be general sports talk, about the Detroit Lions and everything else. But we're also going to, do a little pre-show about the game that's upcoming on Sundays. And then we're going to do a Sunday afternoon or evening game, or Sunday afternoon or evening show, which will wrap up that day's game and talk about what happened. There's going to be a few dates that changed, like the pre-show for week 1 is on the 6th of September, which is the Wednesday before the Thursday night opener. There's really just no other time to do it because it's a Thursday night game. So if we're playing on Thursdays, expect us to be on Wednesdays. We'll start putting some links out. We're actually hammering out a schedule. We're going to get everything set up in advance. We're going to get all the events scheduled. And the biggest thing is we're looking for you guys to come on in and join us. We want to hear from the fans. People get sick of hearing from, just Will and Andy all the time. We want to hear from you. So send us an email at info@rockedondetroitlions, or I'm sorry, let's use the other one, rockedonpodcastnetwork.com. Again, that's info@rockedonpodcastnetwork.com. And let us know that you'd like to come on the shows. We're looking for a couple of people that want to come on weekly. Or if you just want to have invitation open, for one night a week, we can do that. But that's our focus, is we want to start hearing from the fans. The biggest thing that we really need to know from here until the opening week at home is your tailgate traditions. So if you do an amazing tailgate at Ford Field, we would love to come and see you guys at the games. And we're going to do our Turned Up Tailgates content series. And we'd love to feature a few of our fans. So if you guys do a great spread, if you've got some good family traditions, it doesn't matter where you're at, we'll set it up and we'll come visit and we'll get some content and we'll have some fun. We will have giveaways for all the people that want to participate, whether that's, shirts from our Villain Squad apparel, which is going to be launching hopefully by week 1. Or some other Lions, gift bags that we'll be more than happy to share. If you want to go to training camp on the 9th through the 17th or even the 31st of July, please like, share, and follow our YouTube channel. Share our YouTube channel and our Rocked On Detroit Lions Facebook page on your profile. And just send us a direct message with a screenshot that you did it. And we're going to put everybody into a randomizer, and whoever would like to go, you're going to be drawn 3 days before the date, and we're giving away at least 2 tickets to the 31st, 4 tickets to the 9th, and at least 2 tickets to the 17th. And we may have more. But we definitely want to get some more people to join us, and we can transfer everything through your Ticketmaster Lions account or in person. We can always meet up at the field. All right, so enough of the house cleaning. So we're moving into training camp, Andy.
Yes.
What do you really expect this week out of Levi? Because to me, that's going to be the biggest question mark is Levi Onwuzurike, our second round pick in 2021, is he really ready to take the field? Is he going to progress? Is he going to stay healthy? What are you really, hoping to see out of him this week?
Well, obviously the health part for me, as any other person, is always going to be a big question mark. When you have a hard time staying healthy, I know it can inhibit confidence, and it can not only with yourself, but it can inhibit confidence in your coaching staff too, because they never really know. I'm hoping he stays healthy enough to really show what he's made of and to be able to come in and do his job. But I think there's going to be real question marks. If he can't stay healthy, I don't think he's going to make it past training camp. This will be the, year 3 now. And, we're still having issues with health and, question marks of his ability. I really think this could be make or break for him. I really think he's going to be fighting hard to make a roster spot. And a lot of that's going to be based off his health. You could say the same. Look what happened to DeAndre Swift. Could have been the running back of the future, but couldn't stay healthy, and it was time to move on. I really think that that's where we're going to be at with Levi. That's my biggest concern. I really hope he does well and he stays healthy. I think if he stays healthy, he'll make a big impact during training camp. But I don't really want to jump too ahead to make a clear judgment on him, just because I'd like to see if his health holds up. That's going to be the biggest question mark for me, Will. I know you and I have talked about that,
Yeah, I'm really, really concerned about. I mean, I know everybody came in. Dan Campbell said it in the press conference that everybody came in on weight. The physicals were good. Everybody looked healthy, and that's a great start to camp, right?
Yeah.
My thing is this: is Levi game ready? Like nobody's really game ready.
No.
Day one of training camp, right? But is he really game ready? Meaning he's had all of this time off. What has happened to his body over the last 18 months or however long it's been? At least 12 months, I guess.
Yeah.
He really hasn't taken the field. He hasn't, hit anybody. He hasn't tackled anybody. He hasn't taken any sort of punishment at all. That's my biggest worry for the guy. But I do agree with you that it's if he can't put up, I don't think that the Lions are going to entertain it very long.
No,
that would suck to lose a second round pick. But he is, he's currently second on the depth chart behind Isaiah Buggs. And obviously Isaiah Buggs and Aleem McNeil are our starters.
Mm-hmm.
Broderick Martin are was he third round pick this year?
Yeah, he was third. Yeah.
Broderick Martin is supposed to make some waves. We'll see. Yeah. I think he's more of a developmental piece, but we'll see. Yeah. I hope that he can get in and create some disturbances for us. But with training camp just getting started today, we got a lot coming at you guys here over the next few weeks. So it's day one. Pay attention to the headlines. We're going to be posting any breaking news. Mm-hmm. If you see, hopefully we don't have any injuries to report. I wish we could see Hendon Hooker out there. I really think that he's going to be a phenomenal piece for the Lions moving on for our future. And developing, rapport with these wide receivers is really key this season. So we'll see, when he gets a chance. I don't know if he's practicing or not. I don't know if he's clicked on clipboard duty or if he's actually practicing. I haven't heard anything. I haven't read anything either.
I haven't. I checked. I haven't seen anything yet either, Will. So but I'm keeping an eye on that just because I be anxious to see what the kid's made of, what he can do. But I have not read anything yet.
We'll definitely find out on the 31st. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for us tonight. Unless you have anything else you want to add, Andy.
No, I want to add that I'll repeat what you said, Will, and everyone listening. We are finally at the start of the season, longest, most miserable offseason in all of sports. And I think I can speak for you, Will. I'm happy as a clam, happy as hell that we're finally getting underway. Really anxious to see what training camp brings to us. And I always say it pretty redundantly, just go Lions. Let's do it this year. Let's finally make some noise and make it happen. And I think we finally are in a position where we can do it. And That's it for me, my friend. I'm glad everyone came in tonight to watch us.
So I'm gonna throw you a curveball like I like to.
Please don't.
Because it's day one. I have to.
I know
Because it's day one of training camp and nothing matters. We don't know the health of our players in the future. We haven't seen or heard anything, right? So what's your prediction for the Lions record for the 2023 season? Go for it.
Do you want me to speak?
I want you to go for it. What's your prediction going to be? How many are we going to win? How many are we going to lose? 14-3.
Yes, sir.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll check back on that. My prediction is a little bit more modest. As much as I believe that we're a 14-3 team, we are going in through the gauntlet of playoff teams from last season. We got 8 games against former playoff teams. So I feel like 5 or 6 of those are going to be pretty tough games.
Right.
I'd say the Lions are going to win no less than 11 games. So I'm putting them at 11-6.
Not bad.
As my training camp day one prediction. As we get through camp and as we get through week 1 preseason or the joint practices, right?
Yep.
We're gonna modify these predictions and see how it changes, and then we're gonna make our final prediction before the start of the season, and we'll have to do some sort of wager for the fans, of course. So if the fans agree with me, well, great. Then you're gonna have to buy them all something. But if they, and if I win, you know what I mean. We'll do something fun.
We'll make it fun. We'll do something similar like we did in the draft. We'll do something, pull some stuff out of the hat. We'll figure it out. We'll make everyone happy.
We'll have to put together something for everybody to put their predictions in, and let's get some polls going on the Facebook page. But that's all for us tonight. We hope you guys had an opportunity to join us for our late-breaking edition of Off the Cuff. We're wrapping up the 2023 Detroit Lions offseason, and we're heading off into training camp. We'll see y'all next week. Take care.
Have a good night.